In the 60s, Wendy Martin bought a grand bed at an auction for just £100. The Martin family always felt the bed was special, but little did they know it was a national treasure, traditionally kept in the Palace of Westminster for the monarch to sleep in the night before their coronation. As King Charles III's coronation approaches, it has now been reported that the monarch may sleep in this very bed, which has a surprising history. Richard Martin told the BBC that he and his 6 siblings grew up in a rambling medieval house in Northamptonshire with his parents, Wendy and Ron, who amassed a lot of things. His mother often nabbed bargains at the local auctions. In the 60s, she came home with a magnificent bed that was gilded and carved. When visitors saw the bed, they were always taken aback, Richard recalled. He continued, "It was ridiculously over the top. People would see it and say, 'What the hell is that?' There were these holes in the posts. As a child, I had the idea that this was where you put your cigarette." Since the time of William the Conqueror, the monarch had spent the night before their coronation at Westminster Palace, which was traditionally the ruler's primary residence. Plus, it conveniently lies in close proximity to Westminster Abbey, where the ceremony takes place. But the last person to do this was George IV in 1821, who adored adhering to tradition and also felt weary of the journey and facing a mob, as he was not in the best of health. Then, the bed was lost in a fire. Although a new, 6-feet-long bed was built, made out of the finest walnut by John Brown in 1859, it was never used again. During the Second World War, the state bed was moved into a store. It was then in the 60s that it came into Wendy's possession after she won it at the auction and took it home in 50 separate pieces, without the instructions to put it back together. They eventually managed to assemble it and then used it for 2 decades. The bed is thought to have actually been worth around £200,000, a whopping £750,000 today, when Wendy took it home. Richard's younger brother Benedict was born in the bed used by Wendy and Ron. It later travelled with them all the way from Northamptonshire to Wales when they moved into a wool mill. The Martins then stumbled across Victorian expert Clive Wainwright's request in the Telegraph. Mr. Wainwright, who helped renovate the Palace of Westminster and worked at the Victoria and Albert Museum, pleaded with anyone who may have seen the bed to make themselves known in 1979. Wendy did just that, delighting Clive in the process. Richard now reveals that the family always knew the bed was special and important, they just did not know why. Clive and the Conservative MP Sir Robert Cook wanted to return the bed immediately, but the Martins were initially unsure, having slept in it for 15 years with it holding a great sentimental value, according to newspaper reports at the time. The bed was then returned and underwent restoration thanks to the National Heritage Memorial Fund, with the likes of expensive silk hangings added, and is now displayed in the Speaker's house in the state bedroom in the new Palace of Westminster. Members of the public can see the national treasure ahead of King Charles III's coronation, as tickets for tours of the state apartments between April 1 and 15 have now gone on sale. Commons Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle said, "Visitors to Speaker's house are always surprised when they see this huge, beautifully carved bed with its embroidered fabric, and hear about its fascinating history. We believe that it was stored away with other heritage furniture during the Second World War to keep it safe from bombing raids, which destroyed the House of Commons chamber in 1941. The fact that something as big as this could go missing and end up in a Welsh woolen mill years later seems quite incredible, but it just adds to the intrigue surrounding the bed. It really is a national treasure, and I am delighted even more people will be able to see it during tours of Speaker's House. And King Charles may bring back the tradition that has not been enacted in some 200 years prior to his coronation on May 6 later this year, according to the Daily Mail, by sleeping in the famous bed on the eve of his coronation.